Remember that project from the last video? Yeah, this one? It's fine if you don't, because I pretty much started fresh. That said, I built a pretty decent movement system in the last video, so I took the liberty of plagiarizing my own code into this project. But this time, I decided to delve deep into the archive of my phone's Notes app. When I first started learning game dev, I had a bunch of ideas that I wanted to pursue eventually once I had enough skill. At this point, with a few projects under my belt, I think I have enough skill to bring at least one of these projects from my brain into my computer. After some searching, I decided to try out this idea, where you play as a forest guardian who is awakened to stop a catastrophic event called the Tarnishing. I started by making a very rough sketch in Procreate, just blocking down the general shapes that I wanted to include in the 3D model. Side note, it has come to my attention that I seem to subconsciously choose to make 2.5D games. Any 3D or 2D projects that I start seem to fail, and I always end up quitting. For example, the project from the last video, which was 2D. I promise this is the last 2.5D project for a while. I started by modeling the basic shapes in edit mode with Blender, and then used Topo to create a rocky texture. I used Bezier curves. I don't know if it's pronounced Bezier or Bezier. Please, someone tell me in the comments so I don't end up embarrassing myself on the internet in the future. Anyway, I used these curves to create vines that connect various limbs of the golem, and use texture painting to color them. I have a grass asset that uses 2D planes at different rotations to make it look 3D, and I used those and planted them on the golem's back and head, which ended up looking like hair. I liked the look of the golem a lot, but adding vines made it really hard to animate. Still, I think the trade off was worth it. Like I said, the vines caused a lot of problems with weight painting and animating. I used a basic walking system just to test out how it might look in Unity, and once I imported it in and played the animation, I was hooked with this idea. Right now, I think I'm on version 14 or so of the Golem, with each one having better weight painting than the last and more animations. I made a running animation, idle animation for both jumping and in the air, a jumping takeoff animation, a landing animation, and a skidding and deceleration animation. My favorite part about the animations is the way that the Golem throws his arms into the air when he jumps. Because I had already done most of the coding in the last project, I really just had to focus on visuals and mechanics for the game. I made an attack animation, but it looks really sluggish because I haven't refined it at all. I did add another type of ability, which I think is really awesome. The idea is that the hand scales into a solid rock shield in front of you. The move is slow, but once it's set up, it can block most attacks in the game, which will make it a really useful ability. However, right now, it's a little bit useless considering the lack of enemies on the map. I ran into a lot of issues when creating this ability, like the wrong rotation pivot and most importantly, hand lockage. I won't go too in depth about this problem, but the solution was pretty simple. I separated the hand from the rest of the body in Blender and then brought it back into Unity. I locked the position of the hand manually to the rest of the body inside of Unity instead of Blender. That way, Unity considers it a separate game object and not part of the child golem prefab. This strategy made it super easy for me to do whatever I wanted with the hand without it affecting the rest of the body. But there was one more problem, and that was connecting these animations together. Usually, I use Unity's animator system, and this project ended up being no different, but unlike my past projects, this project required me to play multiple animations at the same time. For example, maybe the player needs to keep moving while shielding, which means the walk animation has to play in the legs and the shield animation in the arms. I watched a few YouTube videos about how to do this and learned that it was as simple as creating a new layer in my animator, and Unity would play the two animations at the same time for me. This would be really useful later on for things like jump attacks and cutscenes. I had a really solid foundation for movement, and it was at this point that I wanted to keep expanding. I decided to draw a basic level area in Procreate that would serve as a start area. I used basic rectangles inside of Unity just to mimic how the level might look. Like I said, it looks kind of basic and a little bit strange, but it helps me see how exactly the player should move within the world, which helped me adjust some of the movement values for the player. I let a few people playtest the game, and I got some really positive feedback. I even ended up fixing a few big bugs. I plan to add in other abilities, like double jump, dash, and a few other mechanics. The main mechanic is the strength of the roots and vines holding your body parts together. When you hold your shield, your strength goes down. When you rest or avoid combat for a little while, your strength goes back up. You can upgrade the maximum strength of your vines as you play, and when you're low on strength, your movement slows and gets really sloppy. Overpowered abilities like the shield will drain your strength way faster than basic attacks. To keep the platforming potential unlimited, energy will not be drained by any kind of basic movement. I had the golem movement really solid, but I really didn't know what kind of direction I wanted to head in terms of graphics or art. I wanted a painterly but simplistic art style, like something you might see inside of Dredge or Ori. I decided to make one asset just to test out the art style, one block of dirt. I used sculpting to make this abomination of a platform and then texture painted away. I reused the grass asset, copy and pasted it on top of the block, and made it sway for some variation. It looked good, but in the end, it definitely is not the kind of style that I want to go for in the future. If you have any ideas on how I can make it look better without using any big shaders yet, please let me know in the comments. I think the biggest challenge of this project is going to be making assets. In the next video, I'll be trying to make some enemies to complement the player's attack system. I've got a few different concepts already, which you'll see in a video soon. As always, thank you for watching till the end, and I'll see you in the next video.